Hey guys, good morning, P here. So today's video is going to be off the cuff. I didn't write a script for a studio type video. I'm not going to be using a fancy green screening. Just want to sit down here and tell you what I know if you're planning to get a license here in the Philippines. Well, if you're staying in the city, you can use the cabs or trikes and jeepneys, but you know guys, the situation, especially in the jeepneys, everything is cramped up and everything is like sardines inside the jeepney, so you might not want to do that. And if you're staying out in the provinces, oh hello, sorry, my cat's going crazy. Hey, stop it. Sorry about that. Anyway, if you're staying out in the provinces, you eventually want to rent a motorbike or you want to buy a motorbike. But no matter what you do, securing a driver's license can be a real adventure here in the Philippines, as you know, guys. Some of you guys are already here, so I can't wait to hear your stories and how you get your licenses here. But if you're a tourist, you have to go to the LTO office, which is the Land Transportation Office here in the Philippines. It's like your DMV in the US. I forgot what they call it in the UK, but yeah, it's your DMV. So today I'm going to tell you what you can do to successfully get a license here in the Philippines. So let's get right to it. Now, before I give you all the details, guys, I'm going to tell you what a friend of mine went through about a year ago to get his. Again, I just want to give you a little disclaimer. This is very situational. You're each going to have a totally different experience. And the process should be uniform, really. But as you know, guys, everything here in the Philippines is wacky. As a lot of you are finding out, almost nothing is uniform here. That's why it's more fun in the Philippines, although it's more complicated, to tell you the truth. All right, so I had this friend that asked me to help him to get his LTO license, his driver's license. And he knows that dealing with the government here in the Philippines isn't really smooth sailing, especially when you don't know how things work around here. So I said, sure, why not? And we went down to the LTO to make sure he had what he needed. So first, he was told that he needed a 1-year visa, which, by the way, guys, doesn't exist for someone here on a tourist visa. The maximum visa extension that you can get is only 6 months at a time. So, you know, he was like baffled. Like, how can I get a 1-year visa if the maximum is only 6 months? Unless you're married to a Filipino citizen or you have an SRRV visa, that's the only time you have more than 1 year visa. Anyway, he's a tourist, so it's not possible. Now, he told me, and he told the guy in the LTO that he'd already talked to a lot of tourists who had their driver's licenses here, and they were able to convert it into a Filipino license. And they didn't have a 1-year visa either, because obviously, they are tourists. But my friend was told he needed something that didn't exist. Imagine the horror on his face during that time. And it's like, I was trying to tell him, like, you just calm down. Maybe the guy is not having a good day in the LTO and maybe we can do it in, you know, some other LTO office. And because I knew things were so hit or miss here, we went to a different LTO office. All right. Once again, he was declined. We asked them how he was supposed to produce an imaginary visa, and we were told to check with the Bureau of Immigration and, you know, to check if they can help him with it. Luckily, there's a Bureau of Immigration office there just next door. So we went there and he was told he cannot get a 1-year visa, and we said, why is the LTO asking for something that doesn't exist? So, you know, and they don't really talk to each other. Some government offices are not really, you know, they don't have centralized information. But anyhow, we left. So because that's not going anywhere. So as a last-ditch effort, we tried a third LTO office where for whatever reason, he was allowed to apply for a license. Hey, stop it. Come here. Sorry guys. She's really hyped. Mwah. Okay, so just sit down. We're just gonna talk to the guys right here. All right, so in this LTO office, guys, they never even asked for the 1-year visa. Obviously, my friend being a Westerner, he was so baffled and he was so like, he was about to ask the guy, and I told him like, shh, don't say anything because I think the day is turning out to be okay. We don't have to go to the 4th LTO office. So anyway, he was so puzzled. But the first step he had to do was to approach this table where they handed him a bunch of forms. But he was told that before he could fill out the information, he had to go outside to get a medical checkup and a drug test. And this medical clinic is like the accredited clinic for the LTO. So basically it's easy because it's just next door. And he did he peed to do the drug test, and he was waiting in the clinic to see the doctor who was supposed to do the eye checkup and do the physical test. It's basically like a wellness check. But my friend was really sweating because obviously he's not in his prime and he was about to take an eye test. He's not, he's not colorblind, he's not really, he's not blind, but he's not really in his prime, so he had some problems with his eyes. Anyway, this is the funny part. When the doctor finally came in, obviously my friend, oh, here we go, I'm gonna fail the eye test. But the doctor just asked him one question. You have 20/20 vision, don't you, sir? While nodding his head like this. And obviously my friend was so puzzled and he just answered, I guess so. So the doctor just stamped the paper, okay, you passed, not even giving him the eye test. And again, guys, this is situational. Not all offices are like this. Some doctors are very strict, but anyway, I guess my friend was just lucky that day. So anyway, he got out of the clinic and went back to the LTO office where he could start on the paperwork. When it was filled out, he had to sit in a waiting area to be called up to the window to submit all the application forms. Then he sat back down and waited until he was called to a second window to the cashier to pay for the application. All right, so he was like, okay, how long this is gonna take? But anyway, after that, since he applied for a motorbike license, he was sent outside to take a motorbike driving test. Now, he hadn't ridden a motorbike in 30 years, but he wanted to buy a new one here in the Philippines instead of a car. So once again, he was sweating it. He said he'd even forgotten where the clutch pedal was. But guys, to tell you the truth, the motorbike that they were driving for the test drive in the LTO, it was actually an automatic one. So he was really worried that time, and I feel bad for my friend because I could see him bending down, staring at the row of motorbikes, trying to remember the controls. But once again, that was his lucky day because all they did was stamp approved on his form, and he took it back inside, and this time he wasn't even gonna ask. So he was just getting, go with the flow. All right, guys. After that, he sat down again and waited to be called back to the cashier's window to pay for the motorbike portion of his license. Then he had to sit back down again and wait to be called to a third window where they took his biometrics, his fingerprints, his picture, that kind of stuff. He was being wacky, actually. He was trying to smile, and then because everything is turning out to be okay, he was even joking around with the officer, and then, can you take a picture like this? Or, that kind of stuff. He's a silly guy. Anyway, once again, he sat down and waited until they called his name to finally be called to a fourth window to be handed his license. All right, so that was really an adventure, guys. Altogether, it took between 3 to 4 hours. I was really hungry. That was a long process. Now, again, guys, like I said before, everyone's experience is bound to be different. So don't say, you're wrong, P. I was approved the first time. Well, lucky for you guys. It's a situational. I would really want to hear, I would want to hear your stories, guys, in the comment section, okay? So your adventures of getting a license here in the Philippines. This was just one guy's story, but I know it's accurate because I was there. I was the support group, not a group, a support person for my friend. So let's say you've decided that you need some transportation while you're here. Well, you get to use your valid foreign driver's license for 90 days after you arrive. So if you're only staying here up to 3 months, you don't have to worry about getting a Philippines driver's license. But let's say you plan to renew your visa and you either want to get a car or a motorbike. A lot of guys get cars because that's what they're used to back in the West. But if you do that, I suggest you start off with something used. I say that because the Philippines can be really tough on a vehicle. There's a lot of dirt roads full of mud and rocks that get kicked up by the vehicle in front of you, and it will dent your car and scratch the finish. And also, guys, the parking spaces here are about 2/3 the size of the parking spaces you're used to back in the West. And trust me, drivers here suck, and you will get your doors dinged. And also, guys, the intense Filipino sun that bakes your dashboard till it cracks. There's fruit falling out of nowhere and it will hit your car even while you're driving. It also happened to me one time. I was in a car going down the road and it got hit by a falling coconut, but it was a small one, not the big one, but you know, it destroyed the antenna and left a giant crater in the roof. Even though it's a tiny coconut, it's a baby coconut, gosh, the dent on top of the car, that was horrible. And I had to pay for the for the repairs because obviously I didn't own the car, and good thing I also know a good mechanic, so that was all good. So you guys might be thinking I'm exaggerating and you think this stuff won't happen to you or that it's really rare. It's really not, especially if you're like me who's very unlucky. Right? If you're the kind of guy that likes to wax your car till you can see yourself in it, better get a quick look while you can because it won't last. There's a lot of dust here in the Philippines. I'd consider buying a 4-wheel drive vehicle, especially if you're living out in the provinces, out in the boonies. Fortunately, guys, car insurance here is super cheap and it's not really a big expense, especially not for a used car. I have a friend, she's only paying 500 to 800 pesos a year for her car. So yeah, that's no biggie. And no matter what you get, guys, please, I've said this before, invest in a dash cam. If you ever get in an accident, it'll be the best money you ever spent. Trust me. I hate to say it, but I gotta tell you the truth, guys. As a foreigner, you're gonna get blamed for every accident you're involved in, unless you say those magic words, I have a dash cam. Then suddenly everything changes and they'll actually look at what happened. So when a truck driver isn't looking, and they never do, and pulls right out in front of you with a full load of 6 Filipinos that go flying in the air, and they slam into you, then guys, you'll thank me. You'll remember this video. And again, guys, sometimes the Filipinos, they won't even wear a helmet. So that's crazy. And even babies in the motorbikes, they don't put helmets. I don't know why, don't ask me. But a lot of you guys want to get a motorbike for sure because they're easy, it's easy to park, it's cheaper. And the insurance for a motorbike here is about the average is 300 pesos a year. I'm not kidding, guys. That's less than 2 cents per day. But motorbikes are dangerous to drive here. And if you haven't watched my adventures in driving video, you really ought to. It should be right here or here. I'm just gonna put the link up here. So you know what you're getting into. So guys, before even deciding you want to drive in the Philippines, please watch the video. But I admit motorbikes are really inexpensive as well. A pretty good brand new motorbike here only goes for about 70,000 pesos, about 1,400 US, and a good used one is maybe around 40 to 30,000 pesos or about 800 bucks. And this is good motorbikes, guys, like a Honda or a Honda. Yeah, I've seen a Honda before. It's about 68,000 pesos. Well, Just make sure to wear your helmet. If you ask any Filipino, almost everyone has either been in an accident or knows someone who was. And also my brother had an accident, a motorbike accident, when he was only 19 years old and he scratched his arms. That was really stupid of him, but yeah, I have a lot of friends that had an accident before as well. So guys, whatever you choose, either a motorbike or a car, and if you're staying here more than 3 months, you have to have a driver's license for you to be legally driving. But most expats here choose to live out in the provinces, so they will need the driver's license. Now, if you're living in a bigger city like Cebu or Manila that will just use public transportation or taxis, then you don't have to go get a driver's license. Basically, it's just living in New York. People there just use the subway or yellow cabs, so you don't have to get that. Anyway, before you go through all this stuff with the LTO, there's another option you can choose, the international driver's license. You can apply for it in your home country or you can get it here in the Philippines. It's valid for 1 year, allows you to drive in any foreign country that accepts it, which is a long list, including the Philippines. It costs around 1,800 pesos or about 36 US dollars. The requirements: you have to present your passport. If you're applying here in the Philippines, you have to present your passport, your ACR card, your alien certificate of registration. You get that from the Bureau of Immigration, and a valid driver's license. You cannot get an international driver's license if you don't have a valid driver's license from your home country. So no tests, it's quick and easy, but only good for 1 year. So that's another option for you guys to consider. But if you want a license, you don't have to renew every year. Now let's look at doing things the usual way, by visiting the LTO. Now, I'll go through the stuff you're gonna need to bring with you and what the actual requirements are. First is the application form. You can download it at the LTO website or get it in the office itself. And you have to fill out the information, obviously. And then next, you have to get your medical certificate from the accredited clinics. It's just right outside the LTO. Next is the photocopy of your valid foreign driver's license. Guys, you cannot get a Philippines driver's license if you don't have a valid driver's license from your home country. So if your license is not in English, you have to present a copy with an official English translation. So you have to do that maybe online or before you can travel here in the Philippines, just an FYI. And the next thing is a photocopy of your passport showing your face and name. It was the first page, your information basically. And also the page of showing the date of your latest entry in the Philippines, just the photocopy of that. So pretty much that's it. And once you have all those documents, just tell the guide that you're converting your foreign driver's license into a Philippines driver's license. Now, you might ask, how long is it valid? It's valid for 5 years. So yay, you don't have to renew every year. And the total cost, including the medical test, it'll cost you about 2,000 pesos to get your driver's license here in the Philippines. But like I said, you'll often get different rules at different offices or be told different things by different people. So I'll just wish you the best on your trip to the LTO and hope you're not waiting so long that your birthday changes while you're sitting there and you have to fill out the forms all over again. So that's it for today, folks. And I'll be back with something controversial in just a few days. Till then, bye! If you think about it, I'm kind of like Pocahontas, who bridged the gap between two very different cultures and tried to bring peace and understanding to both sides, while at the same time, dating a foreigner. All that I ask for my diplomatic efforts is that you like this video, subscribe to my channel, and hit the notification bell. And while you're here, check out some of my other videos too. And no, you can't poke my Hontas.